Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Welcome to all presenters and participants in Science and Mathematics International Conference 2020. Praise to Allah that we can join this session today. We will start the parallel session soon, but first we will watch the video from the committee.
Okay, please start ready. Please do share screen from your PC. Yeah. Yeah, please. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Okay, thank you for waiting for. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 presenters right now, including me. We can start now. We begin with the presentation from Indra Bayu Muktias, whose paper entitled Digital Image Encryption Algorithm through Unimodular Matrix and Logistic Map using Python. You have time until 1:34. Okay. We can start to play the video.
Me share about my research, that is digital image encryption algorithm through the unimodular matrix and logistic map using Python. Introduction. Nowadays, the digital image is very important for us, and it can be secured by encryption process. The one of encryption is using Hill-Cipher algorithm. That is using a matrix multiplication as encryption process. And the key matrix is mass invertible. And it can be overcome using unimodular matrix. What is unimodular matrix? It is a matrix that the determinant is 1 or -1. So it must be invertible. This is the example of unimodular matrix. That is 1, 2, 3, 7, or the upper triangular matrix or matrix identity is an example of unimodular matrix. And we use elementary row operation, but using modular, some modular. If we use digital image, so we modulo by 256. Okay, and then we also use logistic map. That is one of the chaotic map that is recursively defined by xn plus 1 equal or xn times 1 minus xn. And the x is a real number between 0 and 1, and the r is a parameter in 3.7 until 4. Okay, let me share about the method. The method is divided into the 4 algorithms. The first algorithm is to generate logistic map sequence. It is used x0 as initial value, and then we use 3-digit number after decimal point. And then the algorithm 2 is generate unimodular matrix. It is as key. We start from an identity matrix, and then we fill in the upper triangular matrix using algorithm 1. And then we use elementary row operation modulo M, modulo 256 to complete the matrix A. So the encryption process is, first, we convert an image into the matrix of integer. That is B, K. B as the row and K is column. And then B is password 1. And then password 2, we fill in the x0. And then after we convert image into matrix, then we can reshape the matrix into a matrix n comma p times k over n. And then before we reshape, we generate matrix key using algorithm 2. Okay, and then we multiply kn by times p in, and then we get some matrix C in the order to n comma p times k over n, and then we reshape the matrix C into the matrix C that p comma k, and then we convert again the matrix integer into image. And then the algorithm 4 is decryption. Decryption is the same algorithm as encryption, but using the backward process. And the difference is we use inverse matrix K. Okay, then I give an example. This is an image of cameraman grayscale image, but I resize it into 6 times 6, and then we can get an image into integer value, and we know the size if the size is 6 times 6, So the total pixel is 36. And then we choose one of the factor of 36 so that the P can be resized into another P, but using one of this number. Example, we choose 4. So in the P, password 1 is 4, and example password 2 is some number. And then P we save into 4 times 36 divided by 4. That is 4 times 9. Okay, and then we also generate a key. The size is 4 times 4. From this, we fill in the upper triangular matrix using the logistic map. The logistic map is something like this. Okay, from this, we use 4 as password 1 to reshape P into another size, and then we use password 2 as initial value of the logistic map. So password 2, we convert it into the decimal value between 0 and 1. This we add 0 point in the left of the password 2, and we add 1 in the right side of password 2. The 1 is important because it guarantees for x0 as a unique number, unique value. Okay, and then from this we have a sequence number, and then we fill in the upper triangular matrix of K. And then after we have an upper triangular matrix, we use elementary row operation, something like this. And then we got a key matrix. This is the key matrix. And then the encryption process is to multiply K and P. And then we reshape again into 6 times 6. So get this. And then we convert again into the image. So that is the example of encryption process. The decryption process is the backward process like this, but use inverse of K. The K must be invertible because the K is using elementary row operation modulo 256. The first is something like this. Okay, and then the result and discussion. We implement it into a computer that is Intel Core i3 and use 4 GB of RAM. Where we use is Python 2.7.14. Use NumPy and Pil into additional package of Python. From this, we implement into the two of digital image. One is grayscale and the one is in color image. From this picture, we know that the histogram frequency of plain text and encrypted image is very different between this grayscale or this color image. It's also different. We know the plain text is very variation is clear, but the encrypted image is relative flat. This is the histogram frequency of R, G, and B, relative flat. And for the time analysis, if we use password 1 greater and then password 2 still the same, we know the time of encryption process is also bigger and bigger. And we know the cameraman is just 512 pixels times 512 pixels. And the color image is very big, 4,197 times 2,773 pixels. But we can, if we set password 1 is 112 and password 2 is 0852, and then time process of encryption is bigger than the morning, even though the morning PNG is bigger in the size of dimension, but the time process can be bigger for the grayscale image. Okay, so from this we can conclude that the proposed algorithm can be applied to grayscale and color images. And then number 2, in the unimodular matrix, we use guarantees a key in the algebra for all matrix sizes. And number 3, the parameter entered by the user are fewer so that they are easy to remember. That is password 1 and password 2. Password 1 is the size of key matrix, and password 2 is the initial logistic map value. Okay, and then the last conclusion is the greater the password 1, the longer the encryption time needed. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for your presentation. Very interesting paper, I guess. Now time for question and answer. For our participants, you can ask directly to the presenter or you can write in the chat platform. Okay, is there any question for Mr. Indra? Okay, I'd like to ask some question. According to your conclusion that the unimodular matrix guarantees the key for the cheaper text, right?
Yes.
So if we don't use unimodular matrix, what will happen?
It may be there is a special things that the hill cheaper use key as one full of matrix as key, and then not all of square matrix can be used as key, but the matrix must be, the determinant is the GCD FPB of determinant matrix, and then the 256 must be 1. The FPB must be 1, because if not 1, we cannot we cannot get the inverse of the key matrix. So the unimodular matrix determinant is 1. So it must be it must be a inverse of that matrix, like that, Pak Yudi.
Okay. Is it any difference between the case when the unimodular matrix has determinant 1 and determinant -1? Is there any difference?
Oh, yes. If we use in digital image, so the number is from 0 to 255. So it must be positive number, integer number. So we use the +1, the determinant of unimodular matrix we use in here is +1.
And when the determinant is -1, is it the same or will be different in the result?
Different. It must be different because if we set the determinant is -1, maybe in the multiplication of key and the P plain text and key, maybe we got some negative number in the cheaper text, and that is very we cannot reconvert it into picture because picture integer value between 0 and 255.
Okay, I think that's clear. Any other question from the other participant? Okay, maybe you can also ask from you can write your question in the chat form, or you can contact Mr. Indra Bayu on via his mail address. All right. The next participant should be Mr. Ivan Lutfi, but he's not here. So we continue with the next participant, Mrs. Lukita Ambarwati. I'd like to ask all the participants to turn on your video, please. Okay, we can start playing the video of Mrs. Lukita.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ambarwati from Mathematics Study Program, Faculty Mathematics and Natural Sciences, State University of Jakarta. In this afternoon, we will present our research, two-dimensional interpolation on data that not in a grid form that minimizing energy of the data. Suppose we have data measured on a rectangular grid. We can see in the reference one, the tensor product of two Chebyshev system, P1, P2 until Pn, and C1 until Cm. That is this is the tensor product. Can we use to interpolate the data, and the interpolation function is linear combination of the tensor product. However, the data on the rectangular grid is often incomplete. For this problem, we can add the dummy data so that the existing data is in a rectangular grid. something like that. The red one is the dummy data. So we have data in a rectangular grid. After adding the data, we do the following step. Step 1, we just do side-by-side system. And then we have the general function that interpolate the data. And then step 1, we substitute the data on the equation on number 1. So we have the system of linear equation. Since the number of the equation is less than the variable, so we have the infinite solution of the system on number 2. So we have the many solution, infinite solution, infinite function that interpolate the data. From the infinite solution, we will find the interpolate function that minimize this energy order n that defined on this equation. Fn equal to the energy represent the curvature of the surfaces. The next one, we will show the simulation of this problem for n equal to. We have 6 data. The 6 data lies on the 3 times 3 grid. So we use the 2 sub-user system have 3 function and 3 function. We use sin px, sin 2px, sin 3px on the ones on the first sub-user system, and the second sub-user system we use 1 cos py and cos 2py. The general interpolation function is this equation, and then if we substitute the points, the data, we will have the function that interpolate the 6 data. That means this function through all the data. And then we will find the minimum energy from the function. So we will get the value of A and B. So this function is minimize the energy order 2. Our conclusion in this research The number one is this method depends on the Cebisev system used. If you use the different Cebisev system, you will the difference solution. And then number two, the interpolation method that minimize the energy integral in this study is highly dependent on the number of points interpolated. And then the third, the selection of suitable interpolation space is very important to simplify the calculation. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you for Mrs. Lukita for the presentation. Yeah, very interesting article. This time for discussion, whether any participant will ask some question. Okay, maybe I have one question for the author. When we add the dummy dummy variable, is it required to add minimum number of dummy variable, or we can just add as many as we can do, or like what? Can you give some explanation? Please turn on your microphone first.
Okay, thank you for the question. If you will add the dummy data, is I recommended to add the minimum dummy data. I means the data should be the minimum number of data. So we will get the data on grid rectangular grid. If you add the number too big number data, the calculate is very complicated. Thank you.
Okay. I see in the title that the purpose is to minimizing the energy of the N, right?
Yes.
Does it affect to the energy if we add lot of dummy data, or it just affect to the calculation but not in the result, or like what?
The minimum energy I think the minimum energy will exist because
I mean that,
function.
okay.
The function, the general function in I think the general function is have a finite dimension, because the basis of the interpolation function have a finite basis.
Okay, yeah, I think that's clear. Any more question?
Yes, I will ask a question to Lukita. Usually the interpolation is in the two dimension. one
Yes,
dimension ya
indeed,
biasanya ya di
high dimension, yes.
ya, but it in the X and Y, berarti kan ini greater dimension. Nah,
Okay, thank you.
what is energy in the data? I still don't understand about energy.
Yes. F n equal to the energy represent the curvature of the surfaces.
Oh, berarti it mean that the Z point ya berarti ya. Biasanya
Yes.
sumbu Z-nya gitu ya.
Potential energy of the surfaces.
Oh, iya kan itu berarti kan yang that is the Z-nya kan ya berarti in the
Yes,
every point.
Yes.
Oh. Terus if we want to minimize it, what is the mean of, maksudnya apa itu tujuannya gitu untuk meminimumkan itu?
If we have surfaces have minimum curvature, you can apa ya? Can I explain in bahasa Indonesia?
Okay, that's fine.
Oke, curvature itu berarti kemulusan dari permukaan itu yang dijamin dia minimum.
Oh gitu.
Curvature
Berarti ya, maksudnya yang minimumnya itu itunya ya.
Kalau di dimensi 1 itu kecekungan ya. Kecekungan di turunan kedua.
Biasanya kan menggunakan itu ya apa? Linear atau kuadrat atau kubik gitu ya, spline itu, Bu.
Lebih ini kalau Sabi subsystem is general. The spline is one of the Sabi subsystem.
Oh. Yes.
More general than spline. Yes.
Okay, I think further discussion can be continued through email. Okay, we continue with the next presenter. We invite Mr. Eric Iswandi. Is Mr. Eric here? I think he's not here, so we can skip. Next, the presenter number 7, Mr. Aang Supiyakto. I see Pak Aang is here. Would you turn on the video, please? Okay, Pak Aang, the time is yours and we can start playing the video.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Salawat dan salam especially for our great Prophet Muhammad SAW. Membadu. Ladies and gentlemen, you like to present our presentation for SMIC 2020 with paper ID ABS 270 with title Empirical Evaluation of User Experience Using Lean Product and Process Development of Public Institution Case Study in Indonesia. In this publication, we have 6 authors. I am Aang Supiyakto and Brother Ruhadatul IC from UIN Saridula, Jakarta. Mr. Bernardus Gunawan Suarsono from Universitas Bung Karno. Mr. Manurang Sultan from Universitas Pramita Indonesia. Mr. Didi Istiadi from Universitas Bina Insani, and the last author, Mr. Asrul Sani from Asia University. Thank you for the collaboration. In introduction, today we know that transparency is an important issue for measuring the good governance performance of a government agency. Here, information openness is one of the accountability function of the public institution. In the implementation, the use of IT has been inevitable option, and the technology development have absorbed budget of each agency. However, performance evaluation of the IT use tend to be carried out internally in terms of its development project. Independent testing related to this matter may still rarely done. In this case study, the public information data system, the aim was to find out whether a system is following requirement of the system function. In order to get the research implementation, we propose a research question. That is, what is the easiness and acceptance level of the system used based on the user experience perception. For the research method, in the study we adopt lean product and process development. This method consisted of 5 steps. The first step is target consumer. This context is user target for the system, following the law of 14, the year of 2008 concerning public improvement awareness. In the second step, we conduct literature study about the quality construct of the public information. In the third step, in order to determine value proposition, we compare the system with the two similar dashboard system to get comparison value. And the fourth step, we reformulate feature to define the user need using use case diagram. In the last step, we conduct US evaluation involve 15 participants. This evaluation consisted of 3 sub-stages: structured test scenario, single is question evaluation, and system user critical testing. You can see list of the task scenario and single is question assessment. Here we use 8 tests, and from the list of user question from the user assessment, we use 10 questions for the participant. For the result, in the first step, identification of the target user of the system, we identify that people in the country, especially who are interested to educational information from the public information dashboard system, and the system users. And the second step, they identify 6 underserved user need. In the proposed values, in the third step, we compare the system with 2 similar systems, that is National Statistic Office Mongolia and Philippine Statistic Authority. You can see the comparison aspect, especially the attraction of the use color combination. You can see the differences, and the usefulness of the system for all field of life. In the fourth step, we set the system using use case diagram. We can see that the first layer, the 5 feature, the second layer we identify 5 feature also. The third layer we define 9 feature. The fourth layer for feature, and the last layer we setting almost 42 features. The use diagram can be seen in the presentation. For the last result of the US assessment, From the single each question evaluation, we found that the easiness point of the system is around 5.7. It can be categorized as easy to use. And the Swiss evaluation, we found that the acceptance value is around 81.3. We can categorize the point as acceptable system. For the conclusion, first, considering to the reset question, the two elected points of this user experience evaluation are around the easiness and eligibility aspect of the dashboard system. Practically, the finding may help the internal system development team in terms of the next system development. Of course, the study may present limitation issues considering the participant involvement, data collection techniques, or the subjectivity of the scholars involved in the study. Therefore, the above mentioned issues may be one of the consideration for the next semester studies. That's all. Thank you. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Aang Subiakto, for the presentation. Yeah, the nice article. Any question for Mr. Aang? You may write in the chat menu, or you can ask directly, or if you have further question, then you can contact Bapak Aang via email. Okay, if there's no question, we continue to the next presenter, Mr. Esa Firmansyah. Is he here? Oh yeah, I see. Please turn on your video.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Esa.
Now for discuss about decision about silus. The biotechnology. Okay, and yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
This moment, the second Science and Mathematics International Conference, SMIC 2020, at Santika Hotel Kelapa Gading, Jakarta. In this moment, I will present video profile or video presentation in this SMIC 2020 and title Examining Readiness of E-Learning Implementation Using Aidin and Tasky Model, Rural University Case Study in Indonesia. My name is Firmansyah. I contribute research Muhammad Agrindra Helmiawan, Ali Rahman, Pepen Supendi, Sri Bekti Handayani, Maya Suhayati, and Aida Abdurrahman. Background and purpose. Human throughput. The world are currently in a state collapse due to outbreak of coronavirus disease. This began in Wuhan, China. So it was known as a pandemic by WHO. Overall, country have implemented social distancing, while Indonesia has implemented a policy of learning from home, working from home, and worship at home, or better known as work from home. In the study of e-learning from home, in this study, I am to determine the level of readiness for e-learning implementation during WFH due to the spread of the pandemic COVID-19, along with the challenge in the 4.0 revolution in millennial. The model used were the IDIN and TASCI model, which measure four main factors, namely technology, innovation, people, and self-development. In this picture, daily new confirmed case of COVID-19. Second picture, this social distance. So this conclusion, this problem solving with e-learning. So you can see education, internet, research, software, critical thinking, e-books, animation progress, digital media, blogs, study learning. This is my research, and so this big factor of e-learning. The method we adopt e-learning readiness from TASCI, IDIN, and TASCI models with a four factor or variable. So we call technology, innovation, people, infrastructure. This four variable readiness of university in implementing e-learning. So this method start with observation, problem identification, literature review, collect data, compile and test. So literature review for compile and test and analysis data and result analysis. With the table, a blue table, variable of technology by resources, access to computer and internet, the ability to use computer and the internet for the skill and attitude, a positive attitude toward the use of e-learning technology. The second variable, innovation, resources with obstacle, skill, the ability to adopt innovation, and attitude openness to innovation. And people, variable with resources, educate, employ, experience, resource, expert, pioneer of e-learning, service, provide, and external party. Skill, ability to learn with technology, no attitude. The last infrastructure variable, resources by budgeting, or accounting, and skill, the ability to manage time, attitude, trust in self-development. And the result and discussion, the e-learning readiness or ELR score result. With the testing the level of e-learning, the test level of readiness for application of e-learning in rural university with IDIN and TASCI models was conducted on 168 students. Data obtained from the questionnaire result using Google Form. Testing instrument in this study use validity test and reliability test. The study was conducted on 7 April 2020 until 6 June 2020 at SMIC Sumedang. In the study, validity test and use was construct validity test by correlating the score of each item statement with the total score of them in question using the product moment correlation formula coefficient with a number of 36 question on the form. Validity test calculation using SPSS, and this result average score of vector technology 4.36, average score of factor innovation 3.6, average score of factor people 4.04, average score of factor self-development 4.09. This result ready. The last conclusion, the result of this study can be concluded the level of readiness to implement. E-learning has a score 4.11, which reflects that e-learning is ready to be implemented, even though it still requires an increase in several factors, such as innovation factor with a score 3.96 and human factor with a value 4.4, and a factor of self-development with a value 4.09, while the technology factor has a value of 4.36. Yes, thank you. My motto, life is we live it, not as we want it to. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this moment.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. I think that's a relevant topic
Hello, my
to
name
this situation right
is
now. Okay, it's time for question and answer. Any question from the other presenter? Okay, I have one question that I saw in the conclusion that since the score of the technology factor is 4 point something, then you conclude that we are ready to implement the e-learning. Okay, what's the criteria actually that we can conclude that the e-learning can be implemented for this time?
Okay. But reliability and ability by factor infrastructure and what infrastructure data by innovation, score, and self-development from the technology. So this ready, we call ready because the number of average score
what the
I mean,
better
what's the minimum score so we can conclude that actually we are ready to.
in tasking model. In tasking
Okay.
model, the minimum score. The minimum in tasking model score 3 not ready in 1.8, not ready need some of work 2.6, the minimum ready 3.4, 3.4, and this result for questionnaire better than 3.4.
Okay, thank you. Any other question?
Yes, I want to ask from where you got the 4 point something like that. Is it mean value or what is the calculation? So you get the 4 point something.
You got the question?
Hello, Pak Isa?
Check. Can you repeat the question?
What is the calculation of data? So you got the 4 point something. Gitu. Is it only mean or median or something? What in the calculation? Thank you.
Okay.
You got it?
Yes. Calculation on this model in this questionnaire. We make SPSS. So we
You can say it in bahasa if you confused the express.
My English is not good.
No problem. It's fine.
Okay. In this vector for calculation
Okay,
Bahasa Indonesia aja, Pak.
do you write the formula of calculation in your paper? If yes, so Mr. Indra just can read your paper or your or your abstract, or you can Mr. Indra can contact Mr. Esa to send his paper like that. I think Indra wants to know the exact formula for calculation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
But I
don't
think
see any formula in the abstract.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes the publisher require not to write any mathematical notation in the abstract, so it's proper to not write the formula in the abstract. But if you really need the formula, you can just contact ESA, and we know that there's a limitation in the duration of the video, so I know that ESA cannot display it properly in the video, but that's okay. We all know that's problem. Okay. Any more question from the other? Okay. I'd like to remind all the participants here who has complete the presentation to please keep stay in this room, because in the last in the end of the session, we have some questionnaire to be filled, and we hope you can participate in the survey. And also we have one more video next in the end of the session, and also we can take a picture. Okay, we call the next presenter Miss Evi Triandini. Ibu Evi Triandini, I see she's here. So would you turn on your camera, please? And yeah, for the host, we can start playing her video.
Present our research, the title. Hello, my name is Evi Triandini. We would like to present our research. The title of our research is Several Methods in Developing Customer Satisfaction Application, PT Angkasa Pura I. We are from Institut Teknologi dan Bisnis di Bali. The background of our research. The level of customer satisfaction cannot be judged from the company's point of view, but we must view from the customer point of view. The quality services provided by Angkasa Pura I is very important for consumers who use airport services. Igusti Ngurah Rai Airport has an application for complaint reports and airport user suggestions. Data complaints and suggestions from airport consumer that have been available in application and within time still cannot be used optimally to analyze the shortage of servants available at the airport. PT Angkasa Pura I require media that facilitate the recording of complaint or suggestion from consumer and provide information on the quality of service that are less than optimal. In this research, we use several methods. SEVQUAL is a framework that is widely used to measure customer satisfaction. In the context of measuring services quality variable, SEVQUAL has 5 dimensions, such as reliability, responsiveness, assurance, tangible, and empathy. Our methods in this research we will implement SEVQUAL methods. And to conduct this research, we have four steps. The first, collecting data. In this step, we have 146 data, and from the data we use only 138. Another data we didn't use because not normalized. The second step, regrouping the data according to several dimensions. The third step, we analyze and design model system, and the last, we implementation model system including several dimensions. Result and discussion of our research. We already mapped 138 data to 5 dimensions. We describe the mapping of our data into the graphic we can see in this presentation. So we have 34% for the assurance, 28% for the empathy, and so on. The second, we already make data modeling. From the data modeling, we have 4 entities to describe and to save our data into the database. So for the 5 dimension, for each data, we will saved into the score hoop, and dimension field. After we finish the design system, and then we implement the design system as a application. And from our system, we already have 5 dimensions of service satisfaction are in the quite satisfied range. So we have a tangible value, 2.4, reliability value, 2.49, responsiveness value, 2.53, empathy value, 2.62, and assurance value, 2.58. The score implications show that Igusti Ngurah Rai Airport service quality is quite satisfying for consumers. Airport transportation is a transportation that is very popular for the consumer who travel alone, both work or for travel. Therefore, airport services have a very important role in the various airports, including International Airport in Ngurah Rai, Bali. The facilities available at the airport must provide satisfaction for consumers. This is the conclusion of our research. This research attempts to develop an application for measuring service satisfaction at the airport by applying the SMIC method. The results show that the 5 dimensions of service satisfaction are in the quite satisfied range. The score is in the range 2 up to 3. The score implications show that Igusti Ngurah Rai Airport service quality is quite satisfying for consumers. For further research, we suggest using other satisfaction measurement methods as a comparison. Subsequent research should pay attention to the more detailed question given to consumers regarding the facility at the airport. This is our presentation. Thank you for attention.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for your presentation, Mrs. Evi Triandini. Any question from the other participant? Okay, maybe not this time, but yeah, you can contact Mrs. Evi to further question or further investigation, right? We continue. We invite the next Mr. Ali Mudin. He isn't attend here, so we can go to. Okay, this is my presentation. So we skip first Mr. Ali Mudin, but we will call him later. So we go to the presentation of mine entitled on study of the exact sequence of view extension modules. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yudi Mahatma from Prodi Matematika UNJ. I'd like to share my article in collaboration with my colleagues Bapak Ibnu Hadi and Bapak Bagus Sumargo. My article entitled on study of the exact sequence of U extension modules. This topic was inspired by the research done by Dapas and Salt on 2002, whose result the notion of chain U complex, and they derived the generalization of some existing lemma and theorem like Lambeck lemma, SMIC lemma, connecting homomorphism theorem, and also the exact triangle theorem. Few years later, on 2016, Mahatma and Muhtadi Alam Shah continued this work by proposing the method of constructing the U projective resolutions and the U extension modules. And later in this year, Mahatma shows a result analog to the long exact sequence of homologies theorem, which says that there exists the sequence consists of U extension modules obtained from a short exact sequence. The problem is that the sequence in the U version has only limited non-zero modules, while in the classic version might have infinitely many non-zero modules. So our goal in this research is to extend the sequence as long as possible. But first, I'd like to introduce the previous result. Here, suppose R is a commutative algebra and M be R module and U be non-zero submodule of M. Suppose we are given a short exact sequence of R modules and R module homomorphism. Say the module 0, A, B, C, 0, the sequence. Then we will have the sequence like this. And in case the algebra R is hereditary, the sequence can be extended with one module 0 in the right side, like this. Okay, and our method to extend the sequence is by finding the connecting homomorphism from the module x1 MUC, that is the module, the rightest module on the first sequence, as you can see in the screen, to the next module, x4 MUA as the target. Okay, and here is our result that if we're given our module M and non-zero submodule U of M, and also a short exact sequence of R modules and R module homomorphism, say 0, A, B, C, 0, as you can see in the screen, then we can find a connecting homomorphism from the module x1 MUC to the module x4 MUA, so that the extension, the sequence can be extended into the following sequence. Okay, we see that we have more 3 modules here in the bottom, x4 MUA, x4 MUB, x4 MUC, and the last row is exact, but overall the sequence no longer exact, but still satisfy the criteria of chain complex. We have something to discuss here. That is, we have succeeded to extend by connecting the x1 MUC with the module x4 MUA, but it doesn't mean that we can continue doing the extension similarly. That is, one might suggest to connecting the x4 MUC with the x7 MUA, but the problem is not as simple as seen, yeah? Because there's a little difference in the structure of the boundary modules B1C and B4C. So yeah, you can still try to find another method to extend. Yeah. However, we can conclude here that the exact sequence of the extension modules, of course, can be extended. Yet the extension is no longer exact, but still satisfy the criteria of chain complex. Here are our main reference, and for the question, you can contact us in the email mentioned in our paper. Okay, that's all, and thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, that's my presentation. Any question from the audience? No question? Okay. We will call the presenter who hasn't present their paper, Mr. Eric Iswandi. Okay, so there's no video from Mr. Eric. If there's video, we can play, but if not, we can play video from Mr. Ali Mudin.
We'll play video for Mr. Almudin.
Although the person is not here, but it's okay if we watch the video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, right now I want to present my research, the detailed application of the temperature sensor cultivation is and plan aquaponic in a greenhouse for local food innovation. In the Science and Mathematics International Conference, Universitas Negeri Jakarta. The next outline, the introduction, research methodology, result and discussion, and conclusion. Introduction. Aeroponic cultivation technology is one of implementation of local food innovation. In the subject the fish and plant. Aquaponic system combine two methods and agriculture production, recirculation of the agriculture and hydroponics. Greenhouse is closed system. It plant in according with condition of plant growth. Sensor digital temperature that can be connected to the microcontroller when right interface temperature readings is this sensor provide 9 to 12 bits. The purpose of this research, the manuscript, to design water temperature sensor and aerophonic, the aquaphonic, and the test temperature sensor for validation orders. Research methodologies. framework, the temperature sensor, aquaponic, design temperature sensor in several design. The name the S1AB20 sensor in aquaponic. The second testing the S1AB20 sensor aquaponic seem like the block diagram below. Temperature sensor, I mean the link in the Arduino Uno R3. This is, I mean, ini interface for computer. Ini the coding for the software assembly to the hardware. This is the procedure design temperature sensor aquaponic. We can point the temperature sensor analog. I mean the circuit electronic. This and also the temperature sensor digital. This and microcontroller. This is the block diagram. The sensor of water temperature or Arduino microcontroller is connected to sensor. I mean to measure. I mean the how much water of temperature. The processing data in the form water quality by the control according to instruction desired by user. Right now, I mean the design the analog temperature sensor and the high temperature, I mean the standard, and the low temperature the standard, and any the saving data including the memory and control logic, and also any the power supply and RAM. I mean to saving our data temperature from the reading of conditioned water. This design, I mean how to the also the digital temperature. We can also design the measurement based on the struct and read by device. The sensor can measure temperature in range 0 derajat until 15 derajat Celsius. Now, so what's the function the microcontroller? The function microcontroller, this is one of the devices that use the perform action and the object process and command. I mean, command is statement coding. I mean, this for software. Microcontroller function the circuit controller and store the program. I mean, the microcontroller is called single chip because the microcontroller has memory input output device in it. Microcontroller use Arduino. I mean, it can be seeing the picture. I mean, this slide. It's okay. The next. Result and discussion. Result and discussion. There any graph. I mean the picture of I mean the any comparison digital temperature sensor the S1AB20 and how many minutes, I mean the error, I mean the comparison or difference, I mean the measure reading water temperature. The test was carried in the condensed ice. The test was carried out 50 minutes and data was taken every minute. testing the sensor with the comparison sensor on of error 0.0409 with the standard deviation of 0.08023. The result of the miserable small error presented the sensor can be used properly. The next calculation, the system is the temperature condition is real time. The system quickly, precisely, and efficiency. The result temperature sensor design were successful with validation with average error 0.0409, and can be used in this study. The acknowledgement. This is tender LVPM Universitas Agen Tirtayasa Internal Applied Research Cluster 2020 fiscal year number. In the 2020 research group Smart Control Attributes Intelligent Energy and Precision Farming, and all intelligence is conduction research including the news laboratory electrical engineering department research laboratory faculty engineering and Cilegon Ontirta. I think that's all my presentation. Then goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Okay, since Mr. Alimuddin is not here, so there's no discussion session. For all the participants, there's a link in this chat menu. Please fill the questionnaire in 5 minutes. Okay, you can do it right now. And I would like to say thank you for your participation in the survey.
Two members. Two members. With the two members. Yes, two members. Yes. Okay. Okay. Now the Mr. Mukhlis want to play the video for Max. Yes. The child. The title backward model. Backward model. No. What's the second? The second one. Development of technical. Development of technical.
Okay, for all the participants, I hope you have completed the questionnaire, and now we will see the video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear participants, this is the end of our conference programs. Please assign your attendee, therefore we can send the souvenir to your address. The certificate of participation is available in your SMIC account only if you present in the conference. We have also choose the best presenter from each field. We will announce the best presenter name in our website on August 10, 2020. From Santika Hotel Kelapa Gading, Jakarta, thank you for your participation and see you in the third Science and Mathematics International Conference 2022. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
SMIC 2020!
Dari The Honorable ya berarti?
Iya. Diem aja.
Lupa. American Institute of Tourism will do a proofreading. Itu apa ya? Dear participants.
So our session is just ended, and I would like to once more to convey my grateful and say thank you for your participation and for your kindness. See you in the other occasion. Bye bye. Oh, foto bareng dulu ya.
Ya, mungkin bisa tolong dinyalakan sebentar, Pak, videonya.
Okay, everyone, please turn on the video. We get a picture.
Okay, are you ready? Mrs. Effie, you ready? Okay.
Ready? Where is Rafa?
Rafa is
video?
busy. I'm sorry.
Outside. Okay, that's okay.
Okay. I'll capture it in 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay. Once more, maybe another pose. Thumbs up. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for Mrs. Effie and Mr. Indra and Mr. Yudi as the moderator. I'm so sorry if I have a mistake as a host. And we will end this session now. Okay, bye-bye.